we are now officially, as a country, maybe if not actually, out of the COVID state of emergency. And we are, it's hard to tell exactly how many flu deaths we have in any given year because it's estimated. It can run from anywhere from like 17,000 to 60,000 in any given year. And I remember doing an interview 2 years ago, I think it was. How will we know when we're out of the pandemic? And the one thing that people would talk about is when we have a daily death total that is in the neighborhood of the flu. Mm-hmm. Flu sometimes around 85. I mean, it can be a little bit higher. It can be a little bit lower. We are somewhere around that neighborhood now in terms of COVID deaths on a daily basis. A little bit higher, but within the sort of the potential zone. COVID has all but become endemic. I see people sometimes wear masks. I mean, I flew recently. I wear the mask on the plane. Particularly, I'm really careful when I first get on the plane. Mm-hmm. When those, in some instances they're running but we're basically done with all that, except for, some of the stuff at the border that we're trying to do now. We roll back 42, but what is is this how you imagine it would be over? Just out with a whimper?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I mean, I honestly don't know what to think about this because at the same time, I have a Twitter feed, list on my Twitter feed that gives all these epidemiologists, and they're all of them are saying, look, this particular wave of COVID may be over and maybe COVID is endemic, but we've got so much coming down the pike. Yeah, the fact is that we didn't learn. It seems as though we didn't really learn anything about how to deal with this. It's, we're worse than we were at the beginning. And this is the shocking thing is to me. And even with, even Biden, who I'm shocked he never takes any credit for doing anything. He tries to pretend like COVID doesn't exist. I mean, I guess they've decided that no one wants to hear about it. But one would have thought this would have been an opportunity with a million point almost 2 deaths in America, much less the millions and millions of people around the world, that this would have been an opportunity to say, hey, look, this is going to be happening. This is a new world. We've got to really be, let's build ourselves, a public health system, a CDC, a pandemic response, build up all of our supplies, do every bit of research. There's all this research going on vaccines, on these kinds of on these SARS, viruses. Let's really just do this now. We've learned a lot. Let's take those lessons and let's put them to place. And it's the exact opposite. They're basically they want to starve all these agencies. They want to take the NIH and the CDC and this is the Democrats too. I mean, I'm not seeing them make any big sort of, plays to say, look, we've really got to get this in hand. This is our moment. COVID has died down. We learned a lot. We suffered a lot. We came through it. And now's the time to prepare because it's going to happen again. And there's none of that is happening. And that actually surprises me a little bit. I have to say, I thought it was so drastic what happened. The emergency was so severe. The crisis was worldwide. And we all sat at home for a year. I mean, we were, it was like, people didn't go to change the world. I mean, look at the workplace now has been permanently changed, it appears. There's a lot of things that changed. And so I thought that I honestly didn't anticipate that would happen, that it would drop off. We'd get to this point today, as you just described, and then we'd all just go on and there would be, and wait for the next one, I guess, and go through the same thing again. Because I don't see any sense that anybody's doing anything to prepare.
Yeah, I'm struck by that. I mean, the two big things that I'm struck by is one, how we have completely abandoned people who are still vulnerable to COVID.
Yes,
in many respects, like we're not providing, services. I guess we still are giving like the booster shot of the bivalent to folks over 65 and to folks with weakened immunity. But beyond that, it really does feel like you're on your own, folks. We're actively cutting against the idea that people should be careful. And yes, what you've said, like it's beyond no moonshot essentially to make sure that we're prepared for the next one. It is literally like, it's shocking. I don't know if we ever re-elevated the people who were basically responsible for being on the what do you call it? The lookout for pandemics. That used to be basically, there used to be a direct link to a cabinet level position. We don't have that anymore. We don't have the infrastructure that we had that Trump had basically gutted in the run up to to COVID. Never mind.
There's been no pushback on this anti-science thing that has absolutely grown exponentially. I mean, we've had it with climate, of course, for years. Now we have it with disease. They're actually taking on. I mean, this guy down in Florida, the DeSantis' Surgeon General. I mean, he's just out there spewing total misinformation, and whatever. He just got reappointed, and he's fine. Yep. He's still in office. That whole thing, that level of there's a lot of talk about disinformation online and all that stuff, and Elon Musk and the rest of all that torturous kind of debate that's going on. The disinformation about disease, it seems to me, it's a national security threat. It's a world security threat. And yet that is going on. And I don't see anybody really doing much about that or talking about it. I mean, it's like, what?
We're not seeing it from our government. We're not seeing it from there doesn't even seem to be any type of political impetus. I mean, frankly, we have RFK Jr. running who, there are some things that he talks about in terms of like the environment and the commons that I think are that I agree with. But his campaign seems to be really built around, he was talking the other day about being excited that Ron DeSantis was going to burn down the NIH. I mean, his campaign is basically the development of a movement of anti-science in all of these right-wing quarters. It's really sort of interesting how he's been running a submerged conservative media tour to launch his campaign. I mean, maybe we'll look into that more and talk about it more. But the bottom line is, I guess my point is that there is no countervailing entities. There's not in government, not outside of government. There's nothing. There's no PSAs out there. There's nothing. I just, it's crazy. It seems to me. It's
crazy. And it is not to just answer your original question, that is not what I expected. I have to say that actually surprises me. I'm a cynic, I've been watching stuff for forever, my whole life. And this one actually surprised me. I thought a million bodies would have actually, brought the country together in some way. And there would have been some mutual, we disagree on everything else, but a million dead is something we have to, actually reckon with as a culture, and we've got to do something. And the opposite happened. And, you started off this thing with Dr. Fauci being the voice of, of science, and the guy who everybody looked to trust, who'd been there forever, and he knew what he was talking about. And he's now they want to put him in jail. So, I mean, this is where we're at.
They want to put him in jail, and they want to almost like eliminate the entire apparatus. Yeah. And I mean, the next one's, knock on wood, let's hope the next one is less virulent, because
oh God, yes. And there is no guarantee that's going to happen, because like I said, the stuff that I'm reading, there is, I mean, the world that we are living in with the loss of habitat and all this, the zoonotic transmission and all that stuff, it's going to happen. I mean, and it's not going to be pretty.
Well, I want to say, like, I will hope that it's, 100 years from now, so that everybody is, passed away, and we've already, like, rebuilt up some type of,
a new generation,
a new generation who just realizes, like,
Right.
well, we got to be ready for something like that. That sounds like it could be bad. But of course, at that point, we'll have climate change to deal with as well. And it's, I don't know. I feel like if this, if it's another 100 years from now, we're pretty lucky.
Yeah,
Very lucky.
Very much. Very much. But I doubt it. I hate to say it, but it's not going to be 100 years.
Yeah.
And
Heather, I wanted
climate change being one of the reasons.